All right, hello everybody. This is the Win Equity Show for Big Brother 28. And what we're basically doing here is looking at all the contestants and seeing like, hey, what is their probability or their piece of the pie when it comes to win equity? It is only week 1. So these will change dramatically. We can't, I'm going to give my educated guess. I've been watching Big Brother forever. And so I feel like I have a pretty good read on things, but, things will be wrong. And also, it's like the second day. We had feeds for maybe like 24 hours. I'm doing this during the veto. And we'll talk about that. Some of these numbers would change just off of some of the information we've learned more recently. But let's get to it. Starting off with Angela. 15% looks like a low number, but it's actually a pretty decent part of the pie. I did not expect to be this high on Angela so early on. I think most of us probably expected her to last a decent amount of time, just like she did in BB26, but she's been killing it. She's been doing her thing, which I love. Socially, she's been fantastic, and so that's why I've given her an A here. No one's really mentioned going after her too much besides a couple of people. She's really staying pretty under the radar, which is nice as a returnee. I also think people just see some of those Big Brother or some of those Survivor contestants as more of a threat than Angela. And so for the most part, I think she's in a really good spot. I have strategy as listed as a C plus for now. I think that definitely can go up. I just haven't seen Angela as too much of like a strategic threat, but she can definitely prove me wrong here this season. I would love to be wrong. So would have her at a C plus right now, but there's definitely room for improvement. And then from a position standpoint, our girl Angela's in a really good spot. She's really close with Dee and Devins. She's in that alliance now with like Barrett and Drew, so that's a really good foundation. And then she's building strong relationships just across the board with a lot of different people. A lot of people seem to like her, but I think that's one of those things where she's in a great position now, but we know how fast things can change. And then from a competition perspective, I have her listed as a C minus. I know she's won 2 HOHs, but that one HOH, she didn't have like a ton of power. She won a veto. So is she capable? Yeah, for sure. But she's just not someone I would typically list as a competition threat or beast or anything like that. So all in all, Angela's in a really good spot right now. I like where she's at. I have her in my elite tier of people who are in really good standing right now. And yeah, it's a good place to start for Angela. All right. Next up, we have Ashley. I will be honest, I'm biased. I just like Ashley. I like that she seems to have some sort of game knowledge. She likes to be competitive. She's pretty solid socially. Like, I think she gets along well with everyone outside of Angela not remembering her name. I think she just brings like a good positive energy. Low-key shipping her and my guy Barrett. And so I'd love to see that happen. From a social standpoint, like I said, she's doing well. So I just gave her a B. Decent, not above average or anything like that, but she's not causing harm or creating havoc. Next up, for strategy, I gave her a C, and C is just like that basic average weight rating. She could move this up, she could move down, but what we know so far, she's just a C. She was having a conversation with Melody, and she mentioned, hey, we need the numbers, and the Melody was all like, no, we need competition beasts. And both of them were right, but I always strongly prefer just to start thinking about, hey, who can be a number? And usually, as you start doing that, you just kind of naturally end up finding some competition beast in there. So, C for now, but I do think this can move up. Position, I have her listed as a B. I think you could make an argument that she's at a C because she is loosely connected to the people who are in trouble right now, like Mallory, Melody, Lyric. But I think she's strong enough socially to still connect with those other groups where she won't be at the bottom of the totem pole. And all it takes, and I'm going to say this a lot, all it's going to take is like one good HOH win or a veto in like a really clutch spot where she can really take advantage and utilize those relationships to build upon more of a strong game where she can gain more win equity. I just think she's in a spot where she has a lot of potential. And then from a competition standpoint, she's going to be at a C. We just haven't seen her too much, but no shade to her there. I have her in my contender tier. That's where most people are going to fall. She's still in the running, but definitely a little bit lower than some other people. My God, Barrett. We have liked him since the reaction. That video is still up if you're interested. But I think Barrett is in the best spot right now. It is only week 1, and so that means absolutely nothing. But I like where he's at. He is very strong socially. I've seen him connect with almost everybody in the house to some extent. He is a part of a really strong alliance already. So from a position standpoint, I put him at an A+. I haven't heard his name too much besides a little bit here and there where it was D telling Taylor like maybe Barrett could be a replacement nom. And so that's always a little concerning, but we know D is working with Barrett, and so I think she was just trying to throw people off her trail. And so I wasn't too concerned about that. From a strategy perspective, I have Barrett listed at a B. We just don't know what we don't know yet, and I doubt we're going to see too much strategy from him, especially when you're working with people like Devins and D. I just think he'll say his 10 cents worth, but he'll probably let them do most of that. But I put him at a B because he was smart enough to align with the vets. That's automatically a thumbs up for me, and it should be a thumbs up for most people because that's what you need to do. And then you have to figure out, hey, when is the right time to cut them? But that's not going to be anytime soon. We talked about position already. A+, really strong there. Everyone likes him. And one thing about Barrett, too, is everyone thought they should pick him for the veto, to play in the veto, which means no one really knows where he falls, but everyone trusts him to a degree. And so that was a really good perspective to be in. He is going to play in the veto. If he wins, he will be in a bit of a tough spot where he's going to have to hurt some people's feelings by not saving them, but he shouldn't use it. And I hope he wins just to kind of get a little bit more credibility on the competition front. But even if he doesn't and he throws it today, I think he's still going to be in a good spot, even if he's not the competition beast he would like to be. But I have him at a B. C would actually be more fair, but if you saw the reaction video in my mind, he's a tall guy, kind of skinny. I'm manifesting that Michael 2.0 energy towards my guy Barrett so he can come through clutch when we need him to. But realistically, he's at a C. But I have him in my elite tier. I think he's in a really great spot, and he's my number 1 guy right now. My guy, Chuk. He's in the contender spot, but he is someone I could definitely see trending upwards. I think he has a lot of potential. When I reacted to him, he was just saying weird shit. Like, he was like, I'm going to get along with all the women. Women love me. And I was just like, that's just such a, even if it's true, is a weird way of trying to present yourself. And so I had some concerns there, but once he got in the house, he really mellowed out. I gave him a B+ socially because people like him, and I haven't really heard his name come up too much. He is safe, so that is probably a big part of it, but it just seems like he's a likable guy and people feel comfortable talking to him. From a strategy perspective, I have him listed at a C. I do worry he's going to be a little bit too close to the guys in Rome, and Rome is definitely on a downhill trajectory so far. And so I'm hoping my guy Chuk doesn't connect too much to the losing side if they end up being on the losing side. But again, with strategy, we just haven't seen too much from him yet. He did have a conversation with Rome where he was like, hey, basically like a wake up, come to Jesus moment, like, hey, you cannot get too attached in a showmance this early on. Like, I know you're smart, so I didn't even think you were really gonna do it. I wasn't worried like some other people were. And that's always like a risky thing to do because sometimes the person you're telling that to will take that offensively and they won't like you anymore. I feel like they can't talk to you anymore. But it seems like Rome likes the idea of keeping things pretty low key and chill. So we'll see. We'll see if he can manage that relationship. And competition wise, he did win safety, so I probably should move him up to like C+ or B-. But it wasn't an HOH competition. It wasn't a POV competition, but he still did, his thing. So he's fine. But 3%, I just have him in that contender range. We just need to see more. Next up is D. Love D. I definitely could have put her first, even above someone like Barrett or some of the other people who I have with like a slightly larger piece of the pie like Angela. But for D, I am always going to nerf her win equity a little bit just because she did win Survivor. And the likelihood of people voting for a winner who has already won $1 million just feels relatively low. I can't even imagine who she would have to be sitting next to win maybe a Drew who's just like super young and doesn't have as much life experience is tough. And so it's hard for me to see D actually winning, but she is such a good player. I didn't really watch Survivor. I've watched Survivor, but I haven't watched the seasons that she was on. But you can just tell she's so freaking good at these games. Socially, she won HOH, she put these people up, and she's playing dumb. It's very possible she might not know a ton about Big Brother, but she knows enough where she's just like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I just didn't know. And she's just playing ignorant. And then Yash, like, actually called her out low key, and he was like, hey, I just wish you would have told me before you actually nominated me. And she's like, I'm so sorry. You're so right. Like, I definitely should have done that. And that is perfection from an HOH perspective. Just building those relationships, even with people you nominated, where they don't hate you, they're just low key kind of mad at some of the people you work with, and we've heard that a lot from Yash, from Taylor. Mallory might have. I mean, I think Mallory would still put D up, but from the other two, she's definitely done some damage control where I'm sure she's not their favorite person, but she's definitely in a much better spot than most HOHs. And then from a strategy perspective, I think she put up the right people. We don't really know how she was thinking about things, but I feel like her nominations were fantastic. From a position perspective, she has her, from what we've seen so far, things can change. She has her core alliance of, we've talked about it a lot, Devins, Angela, Barrett, Drew. And then she still has a lot of strong connections. When the feeds first came on, I think a lot of us were worried that she was working with Haley and Kamu. And that's just what they believe. I don't think she takes them overly seriously, but I do think she likes Kamu enough where she can see the potential of having a strong relationship with him. And so I like the opportunity that she's really set herself up for, where she has a good strong core alliance and she has like those two other people who see her as someone that they can work with. And then competition wise, this will probably fall somewhat just because Big Brother competitions are different than Survivor pretty dramatically. I think she will probably fall into like that B plus range, but it wouldn't shock me if D just starts dominating a lot of these competitions because they're not crazy hard like they can be on Survivor. So yeah, I love D. I think she's fantastic. I've really just enjoyed seeing how she's playing this game so far. I hope she has the stamina to keep it up. Devins, I have him with an 18% of the pie when it comes to win equity. And the main reason for that is just that I think it's slightly a higher likelihood that someone like him can win versus someone like D, just because he hasn't won before. And D could be a bit more of a shield for him. But what's weird is we have seen more people talk about trying to go after him. Jason doesn't trust him. A lot of people are targeting Devins instead of someone like D. And so there is the risk that he does get out early, but I think because of the foundation he's setting up for himself, like that's a really strong core alliance right now, and the only real alliance we've seen formed so far, where I'm not overly concerned about his position, but I do have him listed as a B plus because there is some room for improvement there. But socially, he's strong. He's building the strong relationships game wise, and it seems like he has at least a decent relationship with most people in the house. He was talking to Taylor yesterday while she was in the have not room crying. I've seen him just interact with a lot of people, and it seems like people just are comfortable with his presence to an extent. And so I like that. And then from a strategic standpoint, we know what he brings to the table. He's a smart guy, he's going to be strategic, and I trust him to make the right decisions. And so I have him at an A for now, but that can definitely go down if we start to see some cracks in the shell. Again, Big Brother moves at a much slower pace than Survivor, and so if he gets bored and starts getting silly and weird with it, we have to look at things differently. So I do kind of expect that strategy to fall a little bit more. And then from a competition standpoint, I don't think of Devins as like a competition beast, but I could be wrong. But I have him listed as a C there for now. I just really like his chances of doing well this season, and so I've ranked him pretty highly up there with Barrett and Angela. That whole alliance is going to be looking pretty good for me as of right now, but we know things can change fast and in a hurry, so I'm not married to this, and I'm expecting it to fall, to be honest, at some point. Drew! Drew is the guy who I wasn't the biggest fan of in the initial reaction, but then once we did a tier list, I moved him up a little bit, because I was like, if I'm on this show, I know Drew is a big fan of the game. He's someone you can definitely use in a lot of different ways. And I think Devin sees him this way. Like, he knows he can kind of like mold Drew and get him to do pretty much whatever he wants him to do, like his dirty work. But also, Drew's been solid socially. I have him at like a B, B plus. I do think he's definitely starting to rub some people the wrong way. Like, some people are annoyed by him, but I think they're starting to realize that he does have some power. And I think part of the reason why people realize that is because he's just so freaking confident and he wasn't put up. And so, for me, I like what he's doing. He has the strong alliance that can definitely carry him some, but he's definitely going to be at the bottom of that alliance. And so, I'm curious to see what he does there. He has a decent relationship with Mallory as well, or Melody. And him and Melody, I think, could definitely have potential if she's not the replacement nom. And the my biggest concern with him is just he's so young, and like we saw that he had a really good strategic conversation with Melody yesterday, like last night, and then he went and told all of it to Devins. And so I'm like, Drew, you have to have some things that you keep to yourself, but I just don't think that's gonna be him. So B plus for now. B strategically. I think he has a solid strategic mind, but again, him just going back and telling Devins everything just always gives Devins the hands up, or like just a little bit more of an advantage over him. And then position wise, I have him at a B. That was before we all learned about this alliance. I would probably put him at a B plus or A minus at this point, just because he is a part of a really strong foundation. And then competition wise, he's at a C because we just haven't really seen him do too much yet. Haley. I was so scared when the feeds kicked off, and I was like, is Haley a power player? Like, is she someone I have to listen to a ton? I'm just not the biggest fan. I didn't really like her before the show started, and even now, whenever I hear her talk, I really just tune her out. I'm not even annoyed. It's just hard for me to focus on things when she's speaking. Uh, I guess just a personal preference thing there. I gave her an A socially at the time because I thought she was a little bit closer to D, but I don't think that's the case anymore. And so I would move her now to more of like a B, B minus, maybe C plus, because outside of D and Kamu, I've seen her interact with Melody some, Ashley some, and I saw her have a conversation earlier, but I'm blanking on who it was with. But ultimately, I just haven't seen her have too many super strong conversations game wise where I think she's going to be a crazy social threat. Even strategy wise, I like hearing her talk about the drama yesterday. I think almost all of us were lost trying to keep track of whatever the hell she was talking about. And I think both D and Kamu just kind of tuned the fuck out because there was like, what is she talking about? And so ultimately, that can move up if she proves me wrong, but for now, I just get a lot of a nothing burger from Haley. I have her at a B position wise because I think no one's actively coming for her now. I don't think there's a world where she'll be on the block this week, but she does feel like a relatively easy person to put up in the future. And then competition wise, I gave her a C minus. Again, you're seeing some of the bias here. I just don't like her, and so a little bit down on her at the moment. Again, this week one. I've had plenty of seasons where I didn't like someone early on, but then by the end of it, I loved them. Maybe, maybe that could happen here, but I don't really see it being super likely. 4% chance. She's still a contender for me. She could definitely still end up having a strong performance this season, so I'm not ruling her out just yet. Next up, we have Jason. I wanted to root and pull for Jason so hard, and I still am. And I think a lot of people are. Like, we've seen people have conversations throughout the last 24 hours where they're like, hey, I really like Jason, but he seems really close to Rome. And the biggest thing with Jason and why he's at a C plus from a position standpoint is just that he's coming for the vets. He's coming for the vets. And I think if you don't really know the game that well, that makes sense. It's like, hey, we need to get the people out who have experience. But they have experience, and they always have a couple people who follow them, and they usually stay in the game for a pretty decent amount of time, if not win the game. And going after them early is just almost always a death sentence. And so I really hope Jason can get over this get out the vets thing super early, because it just doesn't make sense for him right now, especially when one of them RHOH. He does have safety this week, so that's good for him, but it's hard to get overly excited about the way he's playing right now. Again, all it takes is an HOH to put everything on its head, and he could be in a bit more of a power position, but right now, it's not looking great. Socially, he's at a B+, though, because everyone loves him. Like, everyone likes Jason. It's just the way he's playing right now just leaves a little bit to be desired, but I'm pulling for him. I'm a fan. Camus. Camus has fallen a bit for me. He was one of my predicted winners. It was really between him and Barrett, and so I just kind of chose both. But throughout the day, things have just looked worse and worse. When the feeds first kicked off, again, it was him, Melody, D, and I was like, oh, shit, like this could be a real thing. But at this point, it's looking like that's more of like a side thing for D. And outside of that, I haven't really seen Kamu be a part of too much. It does seem like he's working with like Chuk and some of the guys there, but that also seems like he's seeing that as a side thing. And so it's hard to know what's super real. I have him as a B socially. He's not bad. He's definitely not bad socially, but it does feel a little forced at times. Like when he enters a conversation, he's a part of a conversation, things just feel a little bit less genuine than when he's not there. So it's just something kind of have like my eye on. I know a lot of people don't like Kamu. I not the biggest fan either, but I do think he has potential. He's someone I can definitely see moving up these win equity ratings. And so socially I have him at a B because I just feel like he's kind of awkward. Strategically I have him at a B, and position wise I have him at a B because he's just kind of present. I think he has like a decent foundation. He has some solid relationships, but there's just nothing that seems super solid right now. And I don't really see him pushing too much to create more branches for himself to, have more flexibility in the game. And then from a competition perspective, I just think he's going to be a good comp beast. Could be wrong. I have him at a B+. That could end up falling some, but just his build, his UFC experience, I think should lean or, give him some brownie points to do well in some of these competitions. So I have him listed as a contender, 6% of the pie. He's still in the running. Let's see. Lala. I like Lala. Sometimes on the feed she can be a little bit much for me, but when she's just being real, I like her a lot. Socially, I have her an A. I think everyone likes Lala in the house. There are people who realize that everyone likes her in the house, and so that's what kind of brings her down from like a position standpoint. But socially, I think she's in a really good spot. She has a lot of strong relationships, but those relationships haven't really transformed fully to game relationships. Again, like her and Haley were talking earlier, but Haley's a little bit lower on my priority list of people I want you to be winning over. I want her to have more game conversations with people like D, like Devins, like Angela, like Barrett. Even on the other side, like having conversations with guys like Rome, Lyric. I just want to see more game conversations from Lala. She is super close with Taylor, which is nice, but Taylor's on the block week 1, and so that's not really the ideal, but they're definitely locked in. She has a duo at least, and so that's fine. I just need her to become a part of an alliance so she's not just cut out of this game earlier than I would like to see her be. Competition wise, she just has a C. We haven't seen her do too much yet, but that could definitely move up with the way she talks about herself, or it could move down if we see some poor performances out of her. And then actually, I have her in the same color. This was a mistake as people who I have listed as contenders, but I moved her to long shot because I do feel like realistically she is in that long shot tier list. Now we're back on brand with the right color scheme. Lyric. Lyric's baby voice annoys me. I know it annoys a lot of people online. It's funny, when I was watching American Idol, I just watched the clip. I don't still watch American Idol. Not that it's wrong if you do, but I don't. But I was doing some research on Lyric. I just wanted to get more exposure to try and feel out her personality. And they tried to knock out this like fake sweetness, or maybe it's real sweetness, but it feels kind of fake. And they were like, we thought we slapped this out of her. We told her to try to be and find something real to like be passionate about. And even on this show, she's still like acting a little ditzy, just living in her own little fantasy land. She's kind of obsessed with Rome. like it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't even want to go down a whole rabbit hole about it because I've already seen too much. Her and Rome shared a bed last night. Well, they were talking. They didn't sleep together, but it's a lot for me to deal with Lyric on my feed screen, and I don't like it. And she's in a bad position, even in the game. Like, she's really close to Mallory, who's on the block. Everyone sees Lyric, Mallory, and Melody as a trio. She keeps talking about it, and she's trying to get the pressure off of her. But when she tries to talk about it, she's like, everyone sees us as a trio, but I'm just naturally gravitating towards people I really like. And it's like, yeah, that's why people think you're working together, because you basically are. But at the same time, her, Lyric, and Melody basically are cutting the cord with Mallory as soon as she was put on the block. And everyone saw that. And they're just like, well, it looks like you don't have a lot of loyalty either if you're just cutting your girl as soon as she got put on the block, trying to create some distance. And so all of that to say, Lyric is just in a very interesting spot, but not a good one. It does not feel like she has a ton of win equity. She's definitely one of those people who needs to win an HOH or something to regain a little bit of control of her game. And I think she's capable of it. So I don't really expect her to be listed in that long shot tier for too long, unless her and her team can't win a comp. But as of right now, she's only at 1%. I gave her a B socially because she's fine. I think people are comfortable with her. They like her enough. Like, she's not doing anything too negative. From a strategic standpoint, she's at a C. Just haven't seen enough game talk because all we've really seen her do is follow Rome. And then positionally, I have her at a B minus because she's not the main target. So, like, she's not gonna be at a C. Like, she's fine enough, and people aren't even really talking about putting her up too much. And so she seems like she's in a decent position for now. And then from a competition perspective, she's also at a C because, haven't seen too much yet there. Mm, mm. Mallory, I didn't want to do it to you. But I have her at 0%. She is dead to the game, unfortunately. It sounds like she made it clear she was going for the vets. Again, stupid. You don't do that this early when you have multiple vets, or really just in general. I have her at a D socially. She's become a social pariah for the most part. People are trying to distance themselves from her because they realize she's the target to more than likely go home. With that being said, it also looks like Yash might end up actually being the target. So it's very possible Mallory stays. But if she doesn't win the veto today, if she doesn't go home this week, she'll probably be on the block over and over and over and over again until eventually she goes home. If she wins this veto, she does gain a little bit of credibility, a little bit of more win equity in the fact where people might start to see her as a little bit more of a threat, someone who you don't want to put up every week because she can take herself off. And so I would be happy to see Mallory do that. I don't have anything against her. She hasn't really annoyed me per se. I know she was crying a little bit yesterday, and she's been her feel somewhat, but I haven't seen her too much on the feeds. She's just kind of present. I feel like we missed some stuff where she's just not in the best spot. From a strategy perspective, I gave her a B plus, mostly because she was talking to Melody, and she gave a great read of exactly who she should put up. She was like, Devins, D, and Barrett. She was like, clearly they're all working together. Or maybe it wasn't Barrett for that last one. It might have been Drew or Kimu. It was Kamu, actually. She was like, yeah, Kamu is D, Devins, and Kamu, because Kamu should have gone up instead of me. And that was spot on correct. Should she have said it? Probably not. But she wasn't wrong. And so strategically, she is at least having the right reads on the game. But we see that relatively often where a lot of people who leave early have the right reads. They just can't do anything about it. So need her to increase her competition threat a little bit to at least like a B, B plus to get rid of her being in the dead tier list. And then positionally, she's at an F because she was nominated. And to most of the house, she is the target. Melody, 4.5. Kind of like Ashley. I have a thing. I like Melody. I like her. I think she has potential. It's just right now she's on the wrong side of things. So socially, I gave her a B because I think she is doing a pretty good job of connecting with a lot of different people. She might not have done that early enough, which might be why she's playing a little bit of catch up here, but I like her. Strategically, it seems like she has a decent head on her shoulders where she is trying to think strategically, and I think she's aware of the right things to do, but she over communicates them a little bit. And what I mean by that is something like where she was saying, hey, I'm going to not be as close to Mallory. Like, I'm just moving forward. I don't want to be connected to a sinking ship. And when you're telling people like Drew that, and Drew tells that to Devins, like, everyone's going to think about, oh, you're just not a loyal teammate. Like, you're not going to stick with the people that you're cool with. Even though her thought process is right, she does need to create that separation. She just shouldn't be saying that to other people. Same thing with trying to find a comp beast to connect herself with, where it's like, hey, if I can find someone who can win competitions, it gives me a little bit more room to operate in this game. Positionally, she's at a C. She's just in a decent spot, or it really should be more like a C minus, maybe D plus at this point, because a lot of people are talking about her being the backup or the renom. And so there is a risk there of her getting into a little bit of trouble there. But I think more often than not, I mean, actually, we usually do see early in the game here lately, you do have multiple noms. But ideally, she can stay safe this week and not end up on the block. If she does end up on the block, she's in a lot of. I think she should be fine. It just really depends on who wins the POV. So I gave her a C, but there's some scenarios where she ends up in D territory this week. Competition-wise, she's at C. That could obviously move up if she wins the POV or she wins HOH, something like that. We just haven't seen too much from her yet. Rome. Rome. He's been in quite a few thumbnails already. Didn't like him when I first saw him on the reaction video. I don't dislike him as much as I thought I would. On the feeds, he seems fine. Socially, I put him at a B. I think people like Rome. The issue is he's connected to Lyric. He's already in a showmance, and people realize how dangerous that can be for someone who can win competitions. And so he's likable, and people like him, but his position and strategy are so focused on Lyric that it counteracts all the social work he does. Competition wise, he is safe this week, and so I gave him a B minus for winning that contest. Again, there is some risk here. If he doesn't win HOH, I think he is someone people will look at as someone to put up as a nominee. And so he really needs to win HOH next week or one of his allies to get out of this long shot tier, because right now is looking like a long shot for my guy to win. He has a lot, many uphill battles to go through to just get into a decent position at this point, because he's kind of put himself into a hole. Taylor. Taylor. So sad. So sad. Taylor was crying last night because she was really hungry. She's a have-not and she's on the block. Socially, I think people like Taylor. She had a decent conversation with D earlier today. She gets along with a decent amount of people. Realistically, again, we're seeing my bias. I am self-aware most of the time. She shouldn't be at an A socially. I will move her to like a B or a B minus, because realistically, she has decent conversations. She's just not having enough with enough people. We've seen her have good talks with Lala. Again, we mentioned D. I saw her have a good conversation with Barrett. And I think in general, people like her. She's not in the conversation of, hey, we should get Taylor out. And I think that's part of why I kept her relatively high socially. But she's still not doing enough. And yeah, she's tired. Yeah, she's a have not. But if you want to stay in this game, like right now, she's in the position where it wouldn't shock me if Yash can pull himself off, or if Yash, yeah, I mean, he has two chances now. If he can find a way to be safe, they can probably find enough numbers to be like, hey, we actually want to keep Mallory in this game. We feel like she could be useful for us. Who really cares if Taylor leaves besides Lala? Like, you're not really upsetting anyone. And so that's part of why I'm worried about Taylor, is just that she's a bit of a nothing burger right now. And when you are that person where almost no one would really care if you leave, it just leaves a lot to be desired. And I gave her a C minus competition wise. Again, it really should be a C. We just haven't seen enough from her yet. Yash had some moments today where I thought he was doing pretty well. And I think part of it is because he is good socially. I think he's just a relatively likable guy. He's just genuine. And I think people don't feel like he's trying to put on a show or anything like that. Especially in his conversation with D. I think D likes him a decent amount. And that could allow for him to survive this week. He just needs to put in a bit more work with some people who see him as a threat, like the Devons, like the Angelas, people like that. And I think they're right to be a bit concerned, because if he gets in there with D, he could become significantly much more of a threat. So for now, I'm giving him a pretty decent social rating because I think he's just a likable guy. From a strategy perspective, I gave him a C plus. Again, I just feel like he has a good head on his shoulders, but there's still a lot to be seen there. Positionally, now that people are starting to talk about actually going for him, he could again fall into that D territory. He's at risk of losing this game, and so there's a decent chance he's dead to the game this week and is eliminated if he doesn't find a way to save himself. And then from a competition perspective, he's at a C. Again, we just haven't seen too much there yet. And that's pretty much everyone, y'all. I appreciate y'all for sticking it out with me. I feel like this is going to be a fun season. The Friday go live thing is a little weird because Fridays are almost always, or more like pre-veto is almost always a little chill. And I usually like to see pre-noms because I feel like that's when you can learn the most about who people are actually working with. But it's all good. I'm just happy the feeds are back. Big Brother is back. The vibes are right. And we're going to keep doing this. I'll do this every Saturday. On Tuesday, I'll do a power rankings show. And then I want to do more videos of just like random stuff that comes up that's interesting. So we'll just play that by ear. But again, appreciate the support. If y'all could like and subscribe. Also, comment. Let me know what y'all are thinking. If y'all agree, who you think has a better chance, who you think has more win equity in the game. I just like to know what other people are thinking instead of just me. So appreciate y'all. See you later.